Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm really excited to share this video with you as my son and I decided to rescape, or I guess scape, an old 5-gallon tank of his in order to put Gloria, his PEA Puffer, into it. And so the first thing that we did is laid down some tropical soil because we did want to plant this a bit more heavily than what she's currently in. And so we added the soil that I had, and then we capped it off with some crushed lava rock. I have a ton of this stuff and I've never used it as like the top layer before, so I may add some sand to the top if my son wants to do that too, but for right now we think it looks great and it's super functional, of course. Lava rock is great for beneficial bacteria. Then we got to the fun part. So my son is 11 years old at the time of this video, and he really enjoys playing with hardscape and kind of setting up an aquarium. It's his favorite part, so I really just wanted to give him a couple of pointers and just have him go at it. So what I did is I laid down the first stone for him and then just told him to think about what he wanted and just start putting stones and wood and whatever he wanted to use down. And it was really neat because he wanted to kind of make something to appear as if it was an old ruin. He mentioned how if it was in the future and buildings had collapsed and nature had taken over, what it would look like. So immediately he started placing this dragon stone as if it had fallen over and it was holding on onto itself. And it was really nice to kind of see his mind, how it works, and for me and him to just kind of sit back and talk about it as he set everything up. And I was really impressed also with just his thought process on laying the stones down. He would say things like, well, if I look at it from this way, what's it going to look like? Oh, I like the marks on this side of the stone and whatnot. So he's obviously heard me talk about aquascaping enough that he's picked up on a few things. He did have a hard time kind of figuring out how to put stones and wood together. And so I just briefly told him, I was like, I like to put him down so it kind of almost sits naturally on the stone. And I give him a quick example, and he really enjoyed what that looked like. And then he said he was going to try it with some other wood that we had lying around. He then went ahead and took a break, and I did tell him I was going to add one more stone just because I thought the two on the left were probably going to fall over at some point. So I added a third one to kind of brace everything together, but I didn't want to really mess up his design, so it was mostly just for the back. And then he decided to actually add a different kind of stone to the opposite side. Now, you might hear in aquascaping that you shouldn't mix your stones, but honestly, use what you want, use what you have. If you've ever looked at rivers, lakes, any bodies of water, you're going to see different colors and different textures of stone. It's not always universal. So don't hesitate to mix the stones. I live around a lot of rivers here and I see them all the time. When a rock falls off the side of the mountain, it's rough, it could be a certain color, and then the rivers and lakes, eroded over time and they become a different texture and sometimes even, get to a different layer underneath that has a different color. So just use what you like. Now with this piece of wood here, I was really proud of him because he told me that he liked how when I set up an aquarium, how I have wood that kind of breaks through the water line or is exposed. And he wanted to do the same thing. So he went ahead and just braced this old piece of wood that I had left over so that it would come out of the water line as well. Now you can't see it in this video, but these little pieces of wood that he is adding, and actually the larger ones that are already in there, we did in fact glue in place so that they wouldn't float when it was time to flood the aquarium. But he was very excited to play with all these little pieces of stick and wood and stone into them as well. Now he did add this little branch, but unfortunately it didn't really work out. The bark on it was really soft, so it was very difficult to glue in place. So we did remove it for now, but we may try to add it again in the future. Maybe I'll try to soak it or something so that it's ready to sink. We went ahead and flooded it and started to plant. Now this is the part where it was really great to kind of see a kid doing this. Obviously, planting requires more patience and dexterity because it is kind of a tedious process. And so we took our time with it. I showed him kind of how to do some things, but just having to like pay attention to the surroundings, where his forearm was hitting and things like that was kind of tough. So he did ask for more help with this, which obviously I'm more than glad to do. And eventually he did ask that I just finish it for him as well, because I think it was a bit exhausting trying to be really careful with all these little fragile plants. But what we were planting at this point here, so the front is Micranthenum micromoides, which is proweed? Yeah, proweed. And so that's what we're going to have for the foreground. I really wanted a fast growing plant that I could trim really short if needed. So that's what we'll have in the front there. And then in the back, what we're planting right there is Heteranthera zosterofolia, which is one of my favorite stem plants for low-tech aquariums. It's an easy category plant. It's very fast growing. It gets a beautiful lime green color. And it's great at absorbing nutrients. So I highly recommend it, especially for anyone who's trying to do this for the first time and wants to succeed. Definitely get some easy category plants. This right here is Christmas moss, and I have tons of it, so I just jammed it in a couple of the crevices on the stones and the wood. I don't always like to put moss in aquariums because they can be a bit of a pain to maintain just because they get everywhere. But Gloria the PEA Puffer does like it. Now my battery unfortunately ran out and I didn't realize that it wasn't recording when I planted the other plants, but in the middle there is Anubias Nana Petite. I put some on the left as well. And then I just added right there a Java fern, which I have a lot of. I went ahead and tried to add another Anubias Nana Petite on here, but the hydrocotyl tripartita, which I had planted before, was kind of in the way. So we just remove it. I added the Anubias, and then I would go ahead and replant the hydrocotyl tripartita, which is also, again, a fast-growing plant, very versatile, and so it's great in low-tech aquariums. This aquarium is not going to have a very strong light. It's the Lominie Asta 20 Freshwater, and so it's great for the Anubias, which prefer low light conditions anyways. Now at this point, I'm adding just a few more stem plants. These ones are Rotala Atra, which won't get as red or as pink as they would in a high-tech setup, but they work just fine in a low-tech setup. I've used them many times before. Just add a different pop of color. Now, at this point, it's been an hour since the aquarium was all set up, and we put Gloria straight in. Obviously, we acclimated her before going in here, but the reason we were able to add her right away is because we're using the same filter she had on her previous setup. So it's already full of cycled media, and it's just seeding the tank at the moment. The water was dechlorinated, and so she was safe to go in as soon as the temperatures matched. And just look at her. We absolutely love Gloria. She's such a great little pet to have around, and my son is absolutely in love with her. She is a carnivore, so she will make us mess of things. But when we see that face, we're like, it's fine. We'll maintain your tank. Now this is the aquarium the day after, and we were so happy to see how well it cleared up. Everything is looking great, and at this point, it's just going to be important for us to maintain it, to stay on those water changes, and make sure that the water quality is good, especially the first few weeks. But again, with pre-cycled media and an aged filter, we're not concerned at all. But yeah, it's looking great, and we're so happy to have been able to build this for her. Well, that's it for this video. My son and I really had a great time setting this up. Go ahead and leave a comment below if you've ever kept PEA Puffers before, and don't forget to like and follow, and we hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.